Hello, gamers. My name is Pedro. I am a solo indie game dev working on this little project here. This is my first project, so I've always been interested in listening to game dev vlogs from other indie devs, and it's something that I've always wanted to do once I started creating games. So I decided, yeah, let's go ahead and just press play and see how this goes. Um, Today, I wanted to talk about how I am doing the lighting for my game. So, like, mood and presentation is something that uh, I have something really specific in my mind that I'm trying to achieve. And I don't think this is really that important for gameplay, but I'm trying to go for like really focusing on presentation as well and making sure I evoke the right atmosphere that I want. So yeah, this is taking some time, but I think I'm happy with how the lighting looks now. So let's have a look. Um, yeah, let's wait for it to build. Okay, so here we have our little player character guy, and as I move around, you can see that different light sources interact with his shape in interesting ways. If I go down here, there's colder lights. You can see how his eyes shine a little bit blue. I like um, these little moments of like, hey, I'm standing here at this little edge, and there's this blue light here. Look how good it looks, where it reflects in his shell in his face. So yeah, this is not really important for gameplay, but for the mood that I want from the game, I really want to have this work well. Okay, so how did I achieve these effects? Initially, I like as I do stuff, I am learning Unity and learning how to do what I want with it. So everything I'm doing for the first time, and I don't know all the features that exist. So I am doing this with the tools that I know of. So initially, what I did was just um, I have the player sprite here. I have three different sprites for the player. There's just the color sprites and two secondary textures that are the normal map and the specular map. And I'll go into a little more detail in in a little bit. Just wanted to show this right here. And what I did initially was try to use just this to make sure to make the colors work, you know. Uh, and I managed to make the normal map work well, but I didn't get the specular map to work. So, what even are these things and how do they affect the lighting? Uh, I wanted to go into detail into this a little bit more today because this is the really interesting part for me. So, yeah, I ended up having to go into shaders, which is something that I didn't know how to use until a couple of days ago. But I had to use them to make sure my lighting works as I wanted. And here's how this is structured, which is the really interesting part for me. So how does Unity take these three sprite sheets and turn them into a 3D object that interacts with light in different ways? So first thing is my initial texture here, which is just a color. Oops, let's see how it looks. Oops, there it is. So this is the start of everything. Here's my initial texture. This just has color. Uh, the previews are looking very weird. I don't know why, but that doesn't matter so much. So I'm using the let's see how to explain this. Yeah, I'm using the colors. I'm using the RGBA channel from that initial texture and multiplying it with this texture here, which is just a grayscale map of how much reflectivity, I don't know if that's a word, but like this map indicates how much light each pixel in the sprite reflects. So if I go into my specular map here and have a look better, yeah, you can see that there are really white pixels, and those pixels indicate spots where the light reflects a lot. So the eyes, as well as the little edge in this guy's shell. Then there is this more neutral gray color, that's its shell. That is a material that is very reflective, but not as much as the eyes or the edge of the shell. And lastly, there's the meat or the skin of the character and the legs, and that's a material that doesn't reflect as much light. Uh, and this is really the issue that I was having with this and why I had to do this whole thing, is because I don't want his skin to be as reflective as the metallic shell, right? That makes sense in my head, so I'm trying to achieve this result in Unity, which is I think how my like creative process goes a lot. I have something in my head and I want to do it in Unity and I don't know how to do it, so I gotta learn it. So yeah, it's a very simple grayscale map. The darker the color is, the less light it reflects. The more white the pixel is, the more light it reflects. So I multiplied uh, this value with the RGBA value of my original only color sprites, and that gets me the output for the base color, which I use for my character. So you can see that there's another sprite here. Like this is the result, which doesn't really looks really good. But anyways, um, okay, so that would give me the reflexivity. I still don't know the word for it, but yeah, this gives me how much the materials reflect. And then there's the other thing, which is my normal maps. Let's have a look. Uh, yeah, this doesn't look really good. Let me get this into a sprite. There you go. Okay, so here is the normal maps that I'm using for this guy. And normal maps are something that I found out while doing this process, and it's really interesting to me. So there's a color wheel that, wait, let me, okay, I'm getting a little bit lost. Let's focus right there. Okay, so normal maps are ways to indicate to Unity and other programs like which direction a surface is pointing. So each color represents a direction. Uh, you can see that this purple color here at the bottom, this color indicates that this surface is like kind of inclined to the bottom, and then there's green dots at the top that indicate those surfaces are inclined to the top. So I can use normal maps to paint the sprites and define like the surface, the 3D-ness of this object, if you will. And when we plug that into Unity, this makes it so that when light catches here, it reflects in a specific way, different from how much it would reflect if light is catching from this direction. So yeah, this is something that I found was really cool, and it's really changed how the game looked. But it's also a lot of work to do this because I'm doing this manually. Uh, so yeah, back into Unity. Uh, Here's my texture. I am passing it through this normal strength thing here where I can control how much the normal maps affect reflective, fuck it. Um, and I'm outputting it into the normal section of the fragment here. And yeah, so that was a lot of yapping and not much showing what's going on. So let's see in the actual game how this looks, and if I like remove steps, what's different. Let's try something. I'm going to delete sections here and just do this. All right, so now I'm using just my original color sprites and anything else. And if we go into the game, hopefully you can see that it's very flat. Doesn't look bad. Like the light, the flickering light still changes how much it's lit or not. But it's very flat. It's not really the effect that I wanted. So the first thing I did was adding normal maps. So let's go here. So now we should have the normal maps also working. Yeah, and already you can see the difference, right? Before it was just a flat image. Now suddenly this character has shape and has depth. And if we go into the scene here and mess with the lights, as I move the light around the character, you can clearly see how it has a 3D shape. I think that effect looks really nice. But still, the issue that I had when I was at this point is that his face looks just as metallic as his shell. And that's why I had to also use a specular map, which is that grayscale third thing. So if you come back here and connect everything back again, now we have the texture multiplying with the specular map and going into the base color. Now we have different. There's that word that I don't know again, reflectibility or something. Now you can see how we still have that 3D shape, but now we can also see that his shell is much more shiny than his head. And this is a little bit too much, maybe. The effect is a little exaggerated. This is, of course, just showing off the feature. Um, but if we go into the scene and move the lights around, the guy still has his 3D shape, and even the face still has that 3D aspect to it. But now the eyes pop out a lot more, and the skin, the flesh looks like kind of opaque and more flat. This is really the effect that I was going for. Also, the edges of the shell are not as pronounced, maybe as I wanted it to be, or maybe this is okay, I don't know. But there's clearly a difference between materials, right? Between his face and his shell. And as I move around the game world, different lights interact with the character in different ways. So we have a more cold light here, and you can see that his eyes are a little bit blue, and also the trim on his shell is a little bit blue, but his face still remains fairly the same as before. Um, Moreover, if we go into this warm light area here, his eyes are not as shiny. His shell is also a little bit different. And if we go, let's say, if we take away one of the lights, now we only have the global light, which is very dim. I can increase it a little bit. But now even though we have all those things, uh, he still seems flat because there's no light, right? Here would be an area of complete darkness, and here he doesn't have any shine to him. But if you go back to here, suddenly he has that 3D shape to him again. Uh, so yeah, this is something that I am really proud of the results. I think actually doing this recording helped me realize how much work this has been to make everything work together. And now I am hoping to expand this more. I have an enemy character that isn't like complete yet, but he has some material to him. Second, let me position him here, and if I move the light around, you can see how he reflects the light differently. But this guy, he doesn't really have a specular map yet. He's just the color sprite and then the normal map. And he's looking really metallic, and I like how that looks for him. But maybe I want to do some work on his legs and eyes to make sure they read a little bit better. Uh, there's also this barrel that I was working on. And again, if we play with the lights, you can see how there's a 3D shape to the barrel. Uh, Now here's where the issue arises, right? The texture of the barrel looks as metallic as the texture of the crab, and I can change the sharpness of the edges just with the normal map. So in the crab, there's really sharp pixels in the claws, as well as really sharp turns in his face, and the barrels are really smooth. So that I can do just with the normal map, right? But I can't say that the metallic trim in the barrel is more reflective than the wooden material. I can't do that just with normal maps, and that is something that I will have to use specular maps for. And so the barrel, I haven't done that yet, the crab as well, but I think the it's weird how the barrel demonstrates this issue really well, right? Because it's obvious that the wood shouldn't be as reflective as the metallic circles, yet they are. So this is something that I have to work on still. Um, all right. I don't know how this went. Hopefully, you can have an idea of how this is all working, and maybe this is interesting. And yeah, the whole idea of this is just talking about what I have been doing and maybe talking to people that are interested in what I am doing and people that are interested in, creating games and maybe motivating some people to go out and also create things because I am very much just a guy doing this. Um, like I work as a web dev on my day job, so I have some experience with programming, but nothing related to games and stuff. I'm also not um, like a professional artist, so all the pixel art that I'm doing is very amateur looking. But I think like this is a way for me to leverage what I know and the image that I have in my head to slowly learn and build uh, like exactly what I want, right? So I started with just the image sprite, which is very simple. Uh, this isn't really complex pixel art. It's just a couple of circles and a few lines. But together with the normal map and the specular map and the shader here, there's a really interesting effect. So yeah, I think that's it. Uh, welcome to Game DevLog number one. I have no idea what I'm doing. Uh, maybe there will be a few more in the future. Thanks for watching, I guess.